he was born, when your dad was born. And then we moved up to our house on Wagner.
Yeah?
And I was there till I left. Yeah. Dolores called me today.
Did she?
She was my neighbor,
Yeah.
for 40-some years.
Oh.
So she was wondering how I was doing. So I said, come on out and see me. She says, a long way out. I said, because she lives out of the city now.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, it's not that far. But however.
Mm. So you had my dad, and were you 18 when you had
When I met
your firstborn? How old were you when you had your first baby?
23.
23. Okay, so that's kind of the part that we left off at.
Yeah.
So you stayed at home and looked after the baby?
Yeah. I never went to work until, Randy was in kindergarten
Ah.
when I went to work.
Ah. And work, where was work?
At McCormick.
At McCormick's.
Yeah.
So did you go through the entire, like you applied for the job and they hired you? Is that how that happened?
My neighbor, she worked there. And she said, come on out and apply.
Yeah.
And she said, work nights and then she says, you can ride back and forth with Noel and I. So I went out and applied that day and was working the next. And your grandfather was furious.
Why?
He didn't want me working.
Why?
But he was ready to spend the money.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, and what was your job at McCormick's?
Oh, I was down in the factory on the belt, when I first went there, and then they used to post jobs, which I imagine they still do, and they had a posting for up in the kitchen, so I applied for it, and I got up in the kitchen, so I worked there until I quit.
Now, I know, being your granddaughter, that you're a very good cook. And did you not used to make your own recipes there as well, or in the kitchen, or?
Oh, that's pretty well stuff that I'd made at home, only in larger amounts.
Mm.
You know, like I used to make a lemon square with soda biscuit base, and chocolate cake, and all the, the regular,
Yes.
and date squares, and tarts, butter tarts.
And McCormick's was mainly sweets and candy.
Uh-huh.
Was McCormick's mainly sweets and candies and that type of thing, or?
They made candy and biscuits. Yeah. 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 I used to make butter tarts, pies, of course, and cake. I'd make the great big cake.
So what shift did you work? Was it the same all the time, or?
Yeah, when I went up in the cafeteria, it was the same shift all the time. I used to go in at 7. It started at 7, so I used to leave the house about 6:30.
Is that why you're conditioned to get up so early in the morning now?
When I first started, I worked nights, so that I used to get Randy off to school, off to kindergarten, and I'd go to bed. And when he'd come home at noon, I'd stay up.
Oh.
And then I'd lay down again after supper for a while because I was working nights. Oh, I used to get tired. Yeah. But I survived.
So did Grandpa eventually be okay? He was okay with? Was Grandpa eventually okay with you working then, or?
He got over it. Yeah. It wasn't really, it didn't inconvenience him much.
No.
Because I did the washing and ironing, and that's the weekends, and baking and that, and the meals. It was just the same. It was no different. But the odd night I used to ask him to wash the dishes. And Sonny, your dad would do them.
Aw. Very good. So, all right, so let's talk about your children.
Well, of course, with Sonny, he was no problem. Well, then, was he 4 or 5 years old? When I got pregnant for Ron. And then there's the same difference between Ron and Randy. So they all had their own separate childhood. Yeah. Yeah.
So what were they like growing up, the three of them? What were they like for you when they were growing up together? What was life like?
They weren't companies for each other because of the spaces between them.
I see.
Yeah, no, there weren't much company between them. They used to fight if Randy got into stuff that he wasn't supposed to. There'd be some trouble, but
what were they like, the three of them as children? Like, I mean, what were their traits? Did they have any type of behaviors or?
And come and go and have it.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you do things together as family or?
No.
No.
Maybe the odd picnic in the backyard, but
oh yeah.
Didn't. I can't remember going any places.
Mm. Yeah. So were the three of them?
Maybe we'd go to Dorchester. My girlfriend and her husband lived in Dorchester. They used to live next door.
Oh, yeah.
So then they moved to Dorchester. And then if I could get a ride, I'd go out there and see them. But Johnny wasn't much for visiting. You know, he was very much to himself, like that, you know.
And Grandpa was a roller skater?
Yeah, he did his roller skating, yeah. Of course, I didn't do that.
Did you ever see him roller skate?
I think I went once to the roller skating.
Rink, I guess.
You don't call it a concert, but
oh,
when they put on a show of the roller skating.
Did he impress you? Were you impressed?
No.
No.
He used to skate with this one gal, Shirley Orr, and I didn't trust him with her, but I don't know.
Well, you have to have chemistry to be a roller skater, but usually it stops there.
Yeah. No, he used to go down to their home all the time, so I don't know. I was never invited.
Okay. All right. So, what about the boys? I know Grandpa was a part of the Rovers and all that. Did the boys, were they involved in any extracurricular activities besides school?
Ron played baseball.
Did he?
Your dad was never much for sports. Randy played basketball. But that was it.
How long have you had your driver's license?
I think I was in my 40s when I got it.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Your dad had 2 cars. And he says, you can have the little car, Mom, a little Vauxhall. He says, you can buy that off of me. But he says, don't ask me to teach you to drive. So anyway, I paid $400 for it. I can't remember who taught me to drive. I know it wasn't your dad.
And you are still driving?
Yeah.
At 91?
Yeah. I was over to the church this morning. Yeah.
Awesome.
As long as my old car will navigate think it needs an oil change right now.
Mm.
I have to take it down.
So, you belong to a church
Group, yeah.
church group, and have you always been a religious lady, or?
Well, I was raised in Anglican and went to Sunday school at St. Paul's Cathedral and belonged to the mission band there, Girl Guides,
Oh.
and the boys were christened there at St. Paul's. Well, then Johnny, he used to go over to church over in over in the park across Warrencliffe Road from us on Sunday mornings, but he'd say, "You're too busy to go," so I didn't go to church.
But I know you're religious now.
It's just
So
Baptist now. I go to
Baptist.
Baptist church now.
So I'm curious. You don't have to answer if I'm prying, but like what happened to you that made you turn more to religion? Was it?
Oh, I've always said that I want,
Mm-hmm.
a point of had a feeling that I was talking to the Lord. Yeah. I maybe don't talk about it much, but
It's important to you.
yeah, it's important to me. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So just bringing us back to your children.
Yeah.
Was Russell the first to marry, or out of the boys, was Russell the first to get married?
Who?
Russell, was he the first?
Your dad was the first to get married. Yeah.
So how did that affect you? What did you think
No,
of Linda?
Because I liked your mother.
You did you?
Yeah, I liked your mother very much.
So what was that like for you, getting to know her?
It was, I can't explain that feeling to you. When another person is taking your place.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
No, I
No,
don't.
But your mother and I always got along, so that makes a difference. Well, then Ron went with Diane, and I thought a lot of Diane, but just didn't work out.
Right.
Yeah, I still think a lot of Diane. She's been in a couple of times to see me when she has to come to the hospital, for a checkup.
Yes, I love my Aunt Diane.
Yeah.
So what was that like? How did you feel when you found out that Russell and Linda were engaged?
Well, I was kind of glad for them. Yeah,
Good.
yeah. But how can I put this? I always felt your grandmother was trying to take my son away, more so than your mother taking him.
You mean my grandmother?
Your grandmother can be kind of grabby or what. That's not the word, but you know what I mean. And, but I lived through it.
Yes, you did. So you were at the wedding, obviously? You were at the wedding, obviously?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. And then Ron, he was married in Kingsmill,
Oh, yeah.
the little town that Diane came from. Yeah.
Yes, I was their flower girl.
And I always felt close to Diane for some reason or other. Yeah. I think maybe it was because of her illness.
Mm.
That and I'd had a lot of sickness myself, not that type, but a lot of sickness. And I think that was why I felt close to Diane,
She was epileptic.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
She's a very warm person as well.
I think that I don't think she is as bad now as she was. At least I don't know. I haven't asked her, but I know she was that close to being having brain surgery.
Oh.
And there was a new doctor came from England, and he said, no, that won't change it. And they put her on some medication, and she still has to be checked.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. And Randy married Bev. That was his first. So,
Well, that didn't last too long. And then, of course, Holly Jean was born,
yes.
and I babysat her a lot.
Did you?
She was like my baby, you know what I mean? Because Bev was working, and she worked shifts, and I used to have Holly, and I can always remember her playing on the floor beside your grandfather, and I can remember him. She was just little, and he said, she's so little. He says, in a few years she won't even remember her grandfather. And it bothered Johnny.
What, the fact that she got older?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
And he didn't live to see her get older.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I hardly see him. I haven't seen her or heard from her, and I don't know when.
Well, I remember you used to come up, you and Grandpa would come up to Lindsay and
Oh, yeah.
visit with us.
Yeah.
We always looked forward to having you there.
Yeah, I used to love that.
Yeah.
My drive to Lindsay. Your mom and your grandfather and I used to do some arguing because he never drove a car.
Oh.
Never.
Oh, I see.
And he used to tell me how to drive, and I'd get mad, you know. And one time, I stopped in the middle of Toronto, and I said, you either shut up or get out. And when I would get to Lindsay, your mom and dad didn't know the way we got out of the car, whether the trip was without arguing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? We don't have a lot of pictures.
Huh?
I don't have a lot of pictures of you.
No.
No, like over the years.
There's still a bunch of pictures all packed. I must get at that. And it seems the day goes by, and I've been going down for exercises at 11:14 every morning. But my leg, I still got that thing on my leg. And I was down to see the doctor about it, and she didn't seem to worry about it. She said, just keep putting the bandage on. So
she didn't give you
but
any...
it's sore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it affects my ankle.
Oh.
I can feel it, you know. But my legs, I'd feel great if it wasn't for my legs. You know,
Darn it.
you know.
So, how long has your hair been white?
I don't know. I think maybe I was in my 40s when I went, yeah.
And I remember you used to wear horn-rimmed glasses.
Yeah. I still have them somewhere.
Do you really? Wow.
Yeah. And my first pair of glasses, I didn't have any rims on at all, you know. They were kind without any rims.
Yes. And I have seen you wear pants once.
Yeah. Oh, I put them on for exercise.
Oh, do you?
I have slacks and a pair, and I put them on for exercise.
Because you usually make all your own clothes, right?
Yeah. I want to get busy and do some sewing. I have been outside of guys coming in. Nan, can you sew this up? And I'll say, well, I'm not, you go and take them off and bring them into my house.
Oh.
So anyway, and I sewed some things for the lunch. They're making things for the bazaar. So,
What's your favorite holiday?
my favorite holiday? Well, we used to go to Lindsay. That's the only holidays I ever got.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, what's the word? Like Christmas, Halloween, your birthday, anything like that stand out? No.
I never had a birthday party until your mother had one for me.
Aw.
Yeah,
Well, I know at Christmas you've always gone all out for everybody.
yeah, it's always been. I was sitting thinking last night and started to cry.
Aw.
I'm not looking forward to Christmas this year. I'm not looking forward to it at all.
But it's not the house, it's the people.
Uh-huh.
It's not the house, it's the people.
It's the people, yeah, but I won't,
Yeah, I think maybe it's just a realization, like,
yeah.
is that what it is?
Yeah. It won't be the same.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I set up my dining room table, so I was hoping to have you over.
Yeah.
I'd like you to cook for me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. We had a potluck lunch down at the church. And Barb, she's one of the close ones that I sort of chum with. I've been to her place, and she said, Gary's going to come over and pick you up, Nan, one day, and come for the afternoon and stay for supper, and then take you home. Because they live over east here. And she says, I'll get all the stuff. You can make some butter tart.
That's the ticket. Yeah. Well, you think you'll do that? Yeah.
Yeah, she's a really nice person.
Hmm.
They got a nice little house, but the only thing is that they've got their beautiful basement. They've got it all finished. It's really nice. And a fireplace in the basement and everything, really nice. But the stairs going down to it, I'm terrified to just hold on to the step, about that wide, and I just hold on for dear life. She's just lost her sister with cancer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, what was that like for you to have cancer? Like, did you know that you were sick? Like, how did that happen? I don't know.
Well, I had this lump come up in my breast, and I went to the doctor, and he said, I think that better come out. And I said, to lose my breast? He says, yeah. I said, well, I don't use it now anyway. So that was it.
It's kind of ironic after my mom going through all that as well. What's that?
Yeah.
And how old were you when you had that done?
Oh, gee.
87? Is it 87?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know your mom and dad were here in London when I had it done. His mom was with me. Yeah.
So what interests you in life? Like, what's an area, a topic, a subject that you find really fascinating?
My family, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. I was over to Randy's on Saturday for supper. And Rachel and her husband, kids were there, and Paul and Lorianne. It's a lot. When the 6 kids, under 8 years old,
Yeah.
it'd be pretty noisy.
Mm-hmm.
But she's so cute.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
That's a nice picture.
Yeah.
Wow, she looks like Rachel. She looks like Gay too, actually, doesn't she?
Uh-huh.
She kind of looks like Gay. I can see Gay in there.
She's just starting to say a few words.
Mhm.
She's found out how to say strawberry.
Oh.
But she's coming. But
And have you made presents for all your grandkids then?
no,
Like, I mean, sewing?
I haven't did anything.
Oh.
No. For some reason, I haven't got to get up and go. Maybe it'll come. Maybe I've been depressed. Maybe I don't know.
Well, you've been through a major change.
Yeah.
So it's bound to be stressful.
Yeah.
You know, and boredom
Yeah.
is stressful.
Yeah. I walked the whole.
Do you?
I walked one day, a nice day, and took my walker and I walked right around the building. That's a long way.
It is. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. When Randy brought me home the other night, we were coming up that street. Fire engines went by us. They turned in the laneway there. So anyway, when we got here, he says, Mom, they've gone into your building, the fire engines. So of course, Randy brings me to the side door. And we came in, of course, the fire bell was ringing and ringing. And the fire doors were shut. They are just automatically shut, I guess. So we come in, and Randy consciously opened each door for me to come through. He wanted to make sure that it wasn't smoke or that. But it was some kids had lit a bonfire or over there on the other side of the building, the other building.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the smoke had filled that building and
Oh.
it called the fire department.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I found that out the next day.
What do you think about music? What are your opinions of music? What kind of music do you
I
like?
like music.
Yeah.
I don't like this trash they call music nowadays.
What did you used to listen to when you were younger?
All the music that was in style then. But a lot different to what it is now, yeah. Yeah. I never played an instrument, of course.
What about singing?
I'm not much of a singer. I used to like to sing, but I haven't got much of a voice. But anyway.
Now, I know you like to cook a lot, and did you have people over for dinner quite often, or was it just for your family you used to cook, or how did that?
Huh?
Did you just cook for your family mainly, or would you have people over for dinner?
I'd have Hazel and Reg for dinner. They were my closest friends. And we'd have maybe the boys, some friends of theirs the odd time. Some boys would stay for supper. Or some of the rovers would come and would be just sitting down and get themselves a plate out of the cupboard and sit down and eat. Yeah. Yeah. These Sunday night when this Hazel moved in, and I'm not sure what the relationship were, the two boys or men that was there, and they were saying, "Boy, what a few meals we had at your place, man."
Now, you also had other boys live with you
Yeah.
as well.
Freddie and Doug and Murray. I don't think you ever met Murray.
No.
Yeah, well, another one just a short while. I can't remember his name, but Doug and Freddie and Murray. Murray was a close friend of my brother Don's. And he used to say, when they get married, can I move in? So the day that Don was married, to be married, I was doing the dishes at the kitchen sink, and Murray had an old Ford car. And then he comes and it was all piled high. I says, are you going somewhere, Murray? He says, no, I'm moving in. He says, you told me when one of the boys got married, I could move in. And he lived with us until they got married, yeah. Oh, he's crippled up terrible with arthritis now. He's bent right over double. He lives up Warrencliffe. I'd see him every once in a while. But,
and you're also my cousin Stephen's godparent.
Yeah. Yeah, and yes, I heard they got married.
Stephen? No, I had said you're my cousin Stephen's godparent. Godparent.
God, what?
You're Stephen's godparent.
Oh, yeah.
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 How did that happen?
I don't know. I can remember your Uncle Dave and Evelyn living in an apartment over on, I think it was Springbank. No. I don't think it was Springbank Drive. I'm not just sure where they lived.
Right.
But anyway, I went over there and looked after their place while they went, I guess, on a short honeymoon. And then they moved, forgotten the name of the street. And I invited there, there. And I remember they had a stag party for your Uncle Dave when he was married. And I have pictures of him being drunk.
Oh, no.
He's got his head in the sink. Yeah.
Aww.
But I can't remember being at their wedding. And Evelyn used to be so quiet. You could hardly talk to her. She's a lot different now. Yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah, she was so quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite author?
Huh?
Who's your favorite author? I know you do a lot of reading. Or do you have a favorite book?
No, not especially. I've read I used to like to read the Bobbsey twins when I was younger. Yeah. When I was young,
I read that too.
I had the whole set of them. That was Christmas. I always got a Bobbsey twin book. And I had the whole, when I was married, I guess my mother she gave them away, all my stuff away.
Oh.
And
what happened with that? What happened between you and Great Grandma?
we just didn't hit it off.
Well, was she okay with you getting married and all that?
Well, she was okay, but she just didn't hit it off, her and I. Yeah. And my sister Margaret and her used to fight like a cat and a dog. Yeah. But my mother was funny. Like, she used to come over. Well, in fact, she stayed with us for a while.
Oh.
And we're living where we're living now. And there was something on down at the theater that Johnny and I wanted to go down and see. And so she was there, and I said, she was sitting knitting. And I said to her, would you listen for Sonny? Because once he was put to bed, you never heard him again. while we go down to the show. No, she says, I'm not here as a babysitter. I never ever asked her again. She never ever looked after my kids. Never. No. She used to look after my sister Marg's kids, but she never looked after mine. I never ever asked her again. Her and I weren't too close. Yeah. Like she never believed in doing anything that I could do. Like I was working, and she'd do the washing, and the ironing would be piled up in the basket when I got home for me to do the ironing, and things like that. And I always had to do the dishes. And my sister Marg, she was gone. She'd go out the bathroom window. And yet she was never punished. Of course, Ivy was quite a bit young, she was 8 to 9 years younger.
So, being born in 1918, now that it's 2009, almost 2010,
Huh?
now that it's 2009, almost 2010, what do you have to say, what do you have to tell me, a 40-year-old, about the world and how it's changed? Like, whatever you want to say.
It's scary. I gotta go to the toilet first.
Okay.
Just before you came in, I was watching the memorial service for those 14 that were shot by their own friendly soldier in the States. And there were 14 he shot. Then turned the gun on himself. But he didn't kill himself, and he's still alive. He's in the hospital. They said that he's in stable condition, but he has regained conscious. So you know what's going to happen to him. Yeah. That's how they say the world's a mess.
Now, when you were a little girl, did they have television?
No.
So what'd you do for fun?
We had radio.
Radio.
Yeah. I can remember ours. We had a metal one. It was about this big. That part of it, the radio part. And then it had a horn that sat on front of it. And we lived on Maitland Street. And the LMPS, I don't know whether you know, what the LMPS was the electric railroad. It run in behind. And when they would get to Commissioner's Road, this darn radio would get a horn on it and we'd have to wallop it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, we never had a television until we lived up on Langar Street. And we bought a television. I remember I bought it for grandfather for Christmas.
Yeah.
And we thought that was pretty wonderful. Yeah. You used to watch the darn thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Second World War, what was happening in your life?
I was born in the last year of the World War.
First World War.
1914 to 1918, the First World War was. And I was born in the last year of that war. Yeah. I can remember my uncle coming home from overseas. We lived in West Lorne. And I can remember sitting on the front step with him, and he had been wounded. And he was a prisoner of war. And come home because of being a prisoner of war, had diabetes. He had that, of course, the rest of his life. But he had a hole in his spine, never ever healed. But then he moved to Toronto and married in Toronto. And he was a policeman in Toronto.
But then you were around during the Second World War as well.
Yeah, Second World War, yeah. Yeah, I can go up, I remember going up to the station. Different dear friends, close friends, going, like Jack Singleton was one of them. He used to practically live at our house, him and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
He never came back. He was on a boat that went down. Doug, he was stationed in Newfoundland. He never got over seeing so many kids with rotten teeth, with all the fish and that was up there. And he said, you'd see kids this high, and they'd get fish, and they'd be as big as ours, and they'd be carrying them by the fins over their shoulders. He said, and yet they had rotten teeth.
Oh.
Yeah. Then he come home after the war, and he was a dear friend. And he used to practically live at our house. Well, then he met this girl, and that was the end of the friendships. We have him coming to the house, because, they do that all the time. Yeah. She was from Newfie, and I didn't like her at all. She was, so, but they married, and as far as I know, they had 2 or 3 boys. I don't know. Lost track of it.
So, I wasn't born until 69.
Huh?
I was born in 69,
Yeah.
but from what I understand, the 60s
Yeah.
where it was a real, like, what I'm getting at is the 40s, or even the 30s for that matter, the
Yeah.
30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s,
Yeah.
the decades, there's always something totally different.
Yeah.
What do you say about the decades?
Of course, until I went to work, it was just an everyday housekeeping, you know what I mean?
But did you not keep track of what was going on in the decade?
Read the paper and that's about it,
Now I have to ask, what did you think of the hippies?
I never thought much of them or about them. Yeah. Things like that just didn't interest me.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite decade? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Oh. The 50s sounded kind of fun.
Huh?
The 50s sounded kind of fun.
It could have been.
Like, because didn't you see all the new inventions?
Yeah. Oh.
Like a washer and dryer and...
Washers and dryers and refrigerators and microwaves.
Oh.
All that started coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But it was expensive. You couldn't, working class people couldn't buy them. I remember the first refrigerator I had.
Really?
It was just a little one. And when your Grandpa and I were married, we'd only been married about 7 weeks when he got laid off. So Mom and Dad had a great big, their front room was huge. And So we packed up our stuff and went home and lived at home there. Of course, paid rent. My mother seen to that. And, well, no. I had a gas stove and this refrigerator. And, of course, Mama just had the ice refrigerator. She didn't have a real electric one. So anyways, this was the type of thing my mother was like. Well, when we moved up to Princess Ave, I went back to get my stuff. She'd sold it. My sewing machine and my...
Oh, that's horrible.
No, Johnny was furious,
Oh.
just furious. So he went, there was a store called Cherniak's, and he went down and he bought me a new electric sewing machine, where my other one was a treadle, and a refrigerator. And he bought a second-hand gas stove somewhere, I don't know where. And he paid for him 50 cents a week.
Aw.
Yeah. When Mother got it on her hands on anything she could sell, she'd sell it. She didn't sell anything of my sister Marg, so she was afraid of my sister Marg.
Well, I think we'll stop there for today.
Huh?
I think we'll stop there for today.
Okay.
Thank you, Grandma.